Alright, welcome to another episode of Roundtable Tech. Today we're actually going to do a review of a new Cat8 cable. This is category 8. We picked this up on Amazon, and there's really no industry standard yet for Cat8. And you may be wondering, why in the world might you want Cat8? Well, there's a couple of reasons. Cat8 is supposedly able to connect at 40 gigabits per second, theoretically. So you may want to have it if you're in an industrial setting where you're working from the server on your system locally and you're transmitting files back and forth very rapidly. Another reason that you may want to have it is perhaps you're doing a new build or even upgrading your existing home and you're putting in new cabling. You may want to go ahead and put in Cat8 cabling just so that you're giving yourself a better future proof, because essentially the technology is the same as far as the connectors go. You have 8 wires inside and it's able to send data back and forth. So it's going to be backwards compatible all the way back down to Cat5, which was the good old 100 megs. But with this one here being about 400 times faster, it's definitely an advantage to have something like this. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be doing a review on the category 8 cable, the one that we picked up here, we got from Amazon, and we're going to go ahead and put it through some grueling tests as well. This here actually is designed to have external cable, so it's got UV protection on there. It's got some integrated shielding on there. We're going to take a look at that and we're going to see how well it does. But first thing we're going to do now is we're going to open it up and let's see what the cable looks like now. So the first thing we do is just open it up. It's good old Ziploc style. We've got 2 cables in our bag. Taking a look at the cable, it's kind of lightweight here. It's not super heavy. Now I will say that this is solid core cable, so this is not a cable that you want to use where you're going to be bending and moving a lot. This is more of a set it and forget it kind of cable. So in wall is actually a really good way you'd want to use this so that you're not messing with it very often. A lot of times even in an office setting, you'll just plug these in behind the computer, you'll walk away and you forget it's there. That'd be fine for these as well. What you don't want to do is plug this into, say, a laptop or something where you're dragging it around all the time. The cable is just going to wear down and break down very, very quickly. We do notice here that we actually have some shield protectors on the ends, so if we go ahead and pop that off, that's kind of nice. We do have some shielding covering our Cat connector here. We have standard 8 pins, and it looks like a standard cable as far as I can tell. Right here on the cable, category 8, rated for 2000 megahertz. PIMF, patch cable, outdoor rated. So like I said before, this is designed for UV shielding protection, so we should be able to put it out in the sun and it shouldn't be able to rot away. Now we're not going to have time to put this in the sun for 6 months, but we will have a checkup video on this later to see how well it does. That being said, let's go ahead and get started on our testing.
So our data testing procedure on the cable was pretty straightforward. First we would send 80 pings to Google to see our network latency and to see if it was stable. And then we basically ran a program called iPerf, which connects 2 different computers, one acting as a client and one acting as a server, and it sends data packets back and forth between it, testing the maximum achievable bandwidth that is limited by the lowest common denominator. So basically your NIC inside your computer would be the slowest one in this case, so for us it would be 1 gigabit. So it sends network packages over that port, and it tests if there's any network jitter and lets us know what bandwidth we can expect from the cable. Now that being said, since it was a category 8 cable but was limited to 1 gigabit, we won't see much of a difference between category 5E, category 6, category 7, or category 8.
So we did some baseline testing ahead of time to see what this cable could actually do. And we found that we were limited to about 1 gigabit per second. So if you see on the test results that it is 1 gigabit or more, then we're doing pretty good.
As I'll back up. as you can see, we've simply put our Cat8 cabling here. Nice little hook bolt, and we're just going to run our drill until, I don't know, I guess until we decide to stop.
So it's very twisty.
It's going to be very twisted. Let's see how well this cable does, huh? Whoop. Now we need a little more tension then. There we go.
Twisted pair. Okay, we're good.
All right. Now we're going to give it another test here. You can see we've very well twisted it up good. Let's see if it still works. All right, so now we're ready for the heat test. Now, we know this is not something that anyone's actually going to do. No one's going to drop their cable into boiling water. But what we're trying to do is just simulate years of stress very rapidly. So that's part of the reason that we're doing this. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our cable and we're going to drop it into our boiling water here, which is a little warm. And we're going to let it sit in there for 60 seconds. And we're going to then test it again to see how we're doing. All right, let us begin. Okay, that's all right. We now have boiling cable. Do we have something to dry this off when it's done?
No.
Okay. Oh, we got paper towels. We're good. That's right, folks. We're good. We got paper towels. And again, don't do this. This will more than likely kill your cables or any other electronics. Don't boil your electronics.
That's how you get them clean.
Yes. So something I'll say right off the bat, the ink looks like part of it has been washed off already. However, not all of it. It's very interesting. It looks like just like parts of it have been washed off, essentially. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And dismiss. Okay. It should dry, honestly, pretty darn fast as hot as it is. Alright. So we're going to let that cool for just a moment here. I'm going to shut off our... Maybe we won't. Maybe it's that one. Haha!
Buttons.
That's how we turn it off.
And it's dry.
Okay, yeah, just about there. So looking at this, the water, there's no residue, there's nothing floating around in there. I don't see any errant letters that washed off floating in there. No P's, no L's, nothing like that. So yeah, now we'll give that a minute or two to cool off, and then we're going to test it again.
Interestingly, when we did the heat test, we found that it actually loosened up the copper in there a little bit and actually made our results better than before after the other tests. So maybe heating up your cables wasn't such a bad idea after all.
Alright, so it's managed to survive all of our other tests we've thrown at it. Now we're going to do the bending test. Now I'm going to take the cable, I'm going to bend it here, nice sharp bend, not super tight, but we know that a tighter bend will probably break this cable. We're not going for a single bend break, especially since after twisting it, it survived that. What we're doing to see, or we want to see anyways, is how well this is going to survive after 100 bends. So we've got half of one, and then straighten back out. That's 1. We got 99 to go. All right, folks. back on our bend here. Here we go. And one more further up. All right, now that my arms and hands honestly hurt,
I was thinking so.
we have bent this. Now you might be thinking at home, why in the world would bending this 100 times make any difference? Well, the reason that we did this is this has what's called solid core. So this is not braided inside, or I shouldn't say braided, but stranded inside. This is not stranded inside. And because it's not stranded, it doesn't have the flexibility that you would get with a lot of other standard patch cables. Again, this is more of a set it and forget it kind of cable. Us bending it over and over and over at 100 times is going to give us kind of a rough simulation on how well it can do. So let's go ahead and plug it in, get our test, and see what happens. Oh boy, that cable is stretching. Are you being held?
Yeah, I'm being held.
All right. Okay. Now that we've got the full weight of the Raider being held in place with the Kia, we're now going to try to pull up the hill, and then we're going to test it and see if the cable still works. If it's even a single piece when we're done.
Don't try this at home.
Don't expect this to work at home.
I'm trying to stay back in case of whiplash.
Yeah, right.
Here we go.
Oh, there it goes. Well,
I figured it wasn't going to make it too far. But we tried. We finally found its breaking point, people. Oh, and it pulled it apart beautifully. Look at that. Oh, you know what? That is stranded cable in there. That is not
Really?
solid core. Look at that.
it sure is.
I suppose we probably should have just cut one of these open to begin with, but we didn't. Boy, now I kind of feel silly.
Well, from the description, it looked like it was solid core.
Yeah, I think it did say it was solid core in the description, honestly.
That explains why it's been working so well.
Yeah, frankly. Okay, well, let's take it back inside. We'll go ahead and do a little more cutting on here. We'll do some analysis, and let's figure out what we got. Okay. Oh, can I steal your... Thank you kindly. All right, then. So, we, as you probably saw already, attempted to actually tow a car with this. It did not go well, but that's all right, because you learn more from failure than you do success. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to cut back a little bit and take a look here, because we actually learned something already. So that was stranded cable on there. Now, when we were looking at the specifications for this, this was solid core cable is what we were expecting this to be, not stranded cable. Now, not saying that stranded cable is bad by any means, but it is not what we were expecting. So we have our primary, secondary, third and dairy. Oh, these are individually wrapped, in fact. So I've seen this before with Cat8 cabling, where they have an individual wrap as well. Here's our ground line. That's so that you can pull off any excess current, ideally, is the idea, I believe. And then it also works as a pull-through when they're actually developing these cables and putting on the shielding layers. So let's go ahead and pull back a little bit more, and let's see what we have inside. All right, so we have a white, brown, and the cable is quite interesting in here. That's very not what I was expecting. It's not solid core whatsoever. There we go. Now you can see we've got a little bit of damage here, and that could be from me pulling on it, or it could be from pulling on the car. But it is definitely not solid core. This is most definitely stranded cable. And when I say stranded, I don't mean like Gilligan and his crew. I mean as in multiple strands of wires inside. So it looks like we've got a 5 or 6 strand cable inside of here. And you're going to see that every one of these has the exact same setup. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and take this back. We're going to peel it back. We're going to try to combine our 2 sections of cable and see if we can make it work. All right, well, as you can see, we did an attempt repairing the cable. Oh, it didn't work. We tried, we failed. But that's all right. We had a good time. Unfortunately, we can't tell you if it was what the bandwidth is anymore on it, aside from 0. And honestly, if you look at the cable, we've got these serious dents on here and pull stretch marks where obviously the copper has just been destroyed. The biggest surprise for us is finding that the internals, it was advertised as a solid core inside, solid core copper, and it was stranded, which is not a bad thing at all. In fact, stranded copper allows for better flexibility and lifespan, and everything that we've been warning about moving it, setting it, and forgetting it, it doesn't apply nearly as much because it's stranded. The shielding was fantastic in this unit. It had great grounding through it, and honestly, the cables were in good shape. It did everything that we were expecting it would. Unfortunately, we did not have the ability to push it to its bandwidth maximum. However, in future, we may be able to, but for right now, with our equipment, we just couldn't do that. That said, we did have a lot of fun doing this, and we've got one more thing to see before we're done for the day. So stay tuned and we'll show you what happens. All right. Okay, so time for our last test. Let's see how flammable this is. Now you might be thinking that this is just silly, and partially you'd be right. In fact, mostly you're right. However, UL goes through very strict testing standards when they test cables or furniture or anything they do. So we're going to see if this catches fire. Now, we do not recommend you do this at home, so do not do this at home. Here we go. Putting itself out pretty much immediately. As soon as it catches, it just snuffs itself right out. Look at that. Isn't that something? That's pretty awesome. And that's what the cables are supposed to do. They essentially will catch fire and snuff right out. Alright, let's see how much cable heat it can take. How much heat the cable can take. Hey, look at that. Definitely feel it getting warmer. There we go. Oh, sustained burn. Keep going. We're not done yet. There it goes. Quite warm. And we're going still. That shielding is really, hold on. Figure that would have just flash burned. Now whether or not UL does this much, not quite sure, but we're trying it. How long are you supposed to be burning this thing? Yeah, I think give it about another 30 seconds, and if it's not falling apart, I think we're going to be done. Look at it go. It is now sustaining its own fire. Turn that off. And it's not snuffing itself out very quickly, but it is eventually, looks like it is getting weaker, or is that just me? Might be just me.
No, I think you're right.
Yeah, it's starting to.
Yeah, it's trying to relight itself too.
Well, you heated the cable up to what temperature?
Yeah, that cable, I'm not gonna lie, that metal's pretty hot in there. So it might keep it just burning now at this point. You think we plugged it in now? You think it worked?
Yeah, why not?
All right then. Well, thank you for watching this episode. This is Earl with Roundtable Tech. I hope you have a wonderful day. If you haven't already, please like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know what you liked, what you didn't like, what you want to see in the next episode. Thank you again. Have a great day. And now our final thoughts. Whether or not you should go out and buy yourself Category 8 cable. Unfortunately, we weren't able to test its theoretical maximum of 40 gigabits per second. Our equipment, we just weren't able to do that. And the design of the cable is rugged, it's strong, it survived most of our tests. I mean, if it wasn't hooking this up, trying to tow a car with it, honestly, the other cable would have been just fine. You could have kept on going. And all in all, the cable's got good build quality. I will say that in the diagrams and their listing that they have, these were supposed to be solid core cables inside, or solid core lines inside of this cable. And the stranded line doesn't negate the quality at all. If anything, it actually makes it better. But we decided to go ahead and order another cable. And so we ordered another one that was not associated to us, just to check. And when we got it, we cut it open, and sure enough, inside it had stranded lines as well. So whether or not this is a manufacturing process that they've got multiple companies making, and we just by chance got stranded all the way across, or they have the wrong information on their website, this is still a good quality cable. Now, whether or not you should buy this, it comes down to whether or not you're going to be doing an upgrade or something that you're wanting to future-proof. Honestly, for us, after checking the price of these, they're about $25 for 2 of these cables. Knocks it down to about $12.50 for a pair, and you're going to end up with just a little under $1 a foot. That's not a bad price, especially for the quality of the cable that we have. Really, it's going to be your choice whether or not you want to purchase these cables at that price point or not. For me, I want to give it a solid recommendation that if you're looking for something to future-proof, looking for a good quality cable, and something that's going to give you reliability over time, I believe this is probably going to be good for you. We are working on another video. We're going to have a follow-up to this a few months down the road, so please stay tuned to find out what happens there.